Greyfriars Kirkyard, a name that sends shivers down the spines of even the bravest souls. This place is not just a graveyard, it is a realm where the living and the dead coexist in a delicate, eerie balance. Nestled in the heart of Edinburgh, this ancient burial ground is not just a resting place for the dead. It is a place where history breathes, where every stone and every shadow tells a story. It is a breeding ground for fear, the kind of fear that seeps into your bones and lingers long after you've left. Crumbling headstones stand like crooked teeth against the skyline, each one a silent witness to the passage of time, to lives once lived and now forgotten. They cast long, eerie shadows across the unkempt grass, shadows that seem to move and shift as if the spirits themselves are restless. The air is thick with the weight of centuries. It's as if the very atmosphere is saturated with the emotions of those who have passed through here. Each breath seems to whisper tales of sorrow and despair, stories of love lost, of dreams unfulfilled, of lives cut short. Greyfriars is a place where the veil between our world and the next is thin, dangerously thin. It's a place where the boundaries blur, where the past and the present collide. I've investigated countless haunted locations, from abandoned asylums to haunted houses. I've seen it all. But there's an oppressive energy here that's difficult to describe. It's as if the very ground is charged with a dark, malevolent force. It's palpable, heavy, and it wraps around you like a shroud. You can feel it pressing down on you, making it hard to breathe. It's a place where history and horror collide, where the past is never truly past, and the dead are never truly gone. The graveyard is a labyrinth of forgotten souls, each one with a story to tell, each one trapped in a limbo between worlds. They're trapped between worlds, unable to find peace. Their restless spirits wander the grounds, searching for something they can never find. Among them lurks a malevolent entity, a dark force that feeds on fear and despair. It's a force so dark, so twisted, that it has become the stuff of nightmares. The Mackenzie Poltergeist. This is its domain, a place where the living fear to tread and the dead are never at rest. The Mackenzie Poltergeist is said to be the most active and malevolent spirit in the graveyard. Its presence is felt by all who dare to enter its territory. Many visitors have reported feeling an icy grip on their shoulders, hearing whispers in the dark, and even seeing shadowy figures out of the corner of their eyes. Historical documents and old photographs tell of countless encounters with this malevolent spirit, each story more chilling than the last. Paranormal investigators have tried to capture evidence of the Mackenzie Poltergeist. Some have succeeded, but many have left the graveyard with more questions than answers. As night falls, Greyfriars Kirkyard becomes a place of shadows and whispers, a place where the past is never far away and the dead are always near. The Graveyard of Shadows is a place that haunts the imagination, a place where the line between the living and the dead is blurred and where the shadows hold secrets that may never be revealed. As daylight fades, Greyfriars transforms. The shadows lengthen and twist, taking on sinister shapes. A hush falls over the graveyard. It amplifies every creak and groan of the ancient tombs. The air grows colder, sending chills down your spine. This is when the restless spirits of Greyfriars truly come alive. The living avoid this place after sunset. They know the stories. They've heard the whispers. Greyfriars at night belongs to the dead, and to one entity in particular. Its rage knows no bounds. The temperature plummets as darkness envelops the graveyard. A spectral mist crawls over the ground, swirling between the headstones like lost souls searching for an escape. But there is no escape from Greyfriars once night falls. At the heart of this haunting lies the infamous Black Mausoleum, a place shrouded in darkness and mystery. It's a cold, imposing structure that houses the remains of Sir George Mackenzie, a man whose legacy is as chilling as the tomb itself. In life, he was known as Bloody Mackenzie, a name that struck fear into the hearts of many. He was a ruthless lawyer, a man who condemned hundreds to their deaths during the killing time of the Covenanters, a period marked by brutal religious persecution. Mackenzie was a creature of power, wielding his influence with an iron fist. He relished in the suffering of others, finding a twisted pleasure in their pain and despair. His reign of terror targeted those who defied the king's religion, showing no mercy to those who stood against him. Many innocent men, women, and even children met their end by his hand, their lives cut short by his ruthless judgments. Their blood stained his soul, leaving an indelible mark that would follow him beyond the grave. Even in death, Mackenzie craved power, his spirit unable to let go of the dominance he once held. He designed his own mausoleum to be inescapable, a fortress meant to protect his remains from the world outside. Little did he know his final resting place would become a prison of his own making, a cursed chamber that would trap his tormented soul. His soul, tainted by the blood he spilled, was unable to find peace, forever restless and seeking redemption. It warped into something monstrous, something fueled by anger and despair, a ghostly manifestation of his own inner torment. The graveyard at night becomes a place of eerie whispers and ghostly apparitions where Mackenzie's spirit roams, unable to escape his past. Visitors to the Black Mausoleum often report experiencing paranormal activity, from cold spots to the feeling of being watched, as if Mackenzie's spirit is still exerting his influence. Historical documents and old court records paint a picture of a man who was both feared and loathed, his actions leaving a legacy of horror that endures to this day. Modern-day ghost hunters and paranormal investigators are drawn to the Black Mausoleum, hoping to capture evidence of Mackenzie's restless spirit. Mackenzie's ghostly figure is said to haunt the mausoleum, a spectral reminder of the man who once wielded so much power and caused so much pain. The Black Mausoleum stands as a testament to the dark legacy of Bloody Mackenzie, a place where the past refuses to rest, and the echoes of his deeds continue to haunt the present. For centuries, rumors of strange occurrences circulated around Mackenzie's tomb. People claimed to have seen dark figures lurking near the mausoleum. They heard disembodied whispers echoing through the graveyard. Unease settled over anyone who dared to venture too close to the Black Mausoleum. Animals, known for their sensitivity to the supernatural, refused to go near Mackenzie's tomb. Birds would abruptly change their flight path, swerving away from the area as if repelled by an unseen force. The very air seemed charged with a palpable sense of dread. Then, in the late 20th century, the whispers turned to screams. The paranormal activity escalated, turning sinister. The entity trapped within the Black Mausoleum was making its presence known. It began in 1998. A homeless man seeking shelter from a raging storm stumbled into Greyfriars Kirkyard. Desperate for refuge, he broke into the Black Mausoleum. He unknowingly disturbed the malevolent force that had been lying dormant for centuries. That night, the Mackenzie Poltergeist awoke. The homeless man's intrusion was an act of desecration. It enraged the entity within the tomb. The man fled the mausoleum in terror, his screams echoing through the night. He claimed to have been physically assaulted by an unseen force. He was left with scratches, bruises, and a terror that clung to him until the day he died. From that night on, the haunting of Greyfriars Kirkyard intensified. The entity, fueled by rage and a thirst for revenge, unleashed its fury upon the world. Following the homeless man's encounter, a series of chilling events began to unfold. Reports of terrifying experiences within Greyfriars skyrocketed, with each account more harrowing than the last. Visitors described feeling an oppressive presence, as if the very air around them was thick with malevolence. A feeling of being watched by unseen eyes became a common complaint, leaving many in a state of constant paranoia. Others claimed to have been physically shoved, as if an invisible force was determined to make its presence known. Scratched or even bitten, these encounters left physical marks that defied logical explanation. The attacks were often unprovoked, catching victims off guard and leaving them in a state of shock. Fueled by the entity's raw anger and malice, these encounters were not just random acts of violence, but seemed to carry a personal vendetta. People left the graveyard with unexplained bruises, scratches, and a sense of dread that clung to them like a shadow. A deep sense of unease lingered long after they had left the cemetery's gates, haunting their thoughts and dreams. The Mackenzie Poltergeist was no longer content with simply haunting the graveyard. It seemed to derive pleasure from inflicting pain and suffering. The stories spread like wildfire, each more terrifying than the last, painting a picture of a malevolent force that knew no bounds. The legend of the Mackenzie Poltergeist grew, feeding off the fear and hysteria that it generated. What was once whispered in hushed tones was now shouted in fear, as the entity's reputation reached new heights. Greyfriars became synonymous with paranormal activity, a place where the line between the living and the dead was perilously thin. It attracted those brave enough, or perhaps foolish enough, to confront the entity that resided within its haunted confines. These encounters often ended in terror, as the entity showed no mercy to those who dared to challenge it. The reign of terror at Greyfriars Kirkyard was far from over, and its dark legacy continued to grow with each passing day. The epicenter of the paranormal activity remained the Black Mausoleum. It stood as a grim monument to Mackenzie's cruelty and the entity's rage. People reported feeling an intense coldness near the mausoleum. They experienced a sense of dread that washed over them like a tidal wave. Electronic devices malfunctioned or failed completely in the presence of the entity. Batteries drained in an instant. Cameras refused to focus, their lenses capturing only distorted images and strange mists. The air grew heavy, making it difficult to breathe. The Mackenzie Poltergeist was making its presence known in undeniable ways. It was a warning to all who entered its domain. It would tolerate no disrespect. It would show no mercy. One chilling incident involved a group of teenagers who dared to spend the night in Greyfriars Kirkyard. They sought adventure, a thrill that would give them a story to tell. They found terror instead. They encountered the unbridled fury of the Mackenzie Poltergeist. The teenagers gathered near the Black Mausoleum, their laughter and bravado echoing in the stillness of the night. As they dared each other to approach the tomb, the temperature plummeted. The air grew thick with anticipation and fear. One of the teenagers, emboldened by bravado and liquid courage, reached out to touch the cold stone of the mausoleum. In that instant, all hell broke loose.